Never did I imagine that an ordinary night would turn into the most horrifying experience of my life. It was just another evening, the kind where you find yourself alone with nothing but the dim glow of the screen, the quiet hum of the computer, and the endless labyrinth of the internet. That's when I came across it, an article about the Bloody Mary legend. For those of you unfamiliar, it's an old folklore tale, a game really about summoning a vengeful spirit. I remember chuckling to myself, shaking my head at the absurdity of it all. The idea that saying a name 3 times in front of a mirror could invoke something supernatural seemed preposterous. Yet there was a nagging curiosity, a tiny voice in the back of my mind whispering, urging me to give it a shot. I mean, what harm could there be in trying a silly little game? I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, the room lit only by a single candle. The flickering light cast dancing shadows across the room, creating a tapestry of darkness that seemed to swallow the remaining light. The world outside this room felt distant, irrelevant, as if the small, flickering flame was the only thing anchoring me to reality. In the stillness of the night, I began the ritual of summoning Bloody Mary. With the bathroom door closed, the room was enveloped in an eerie darkness. All light was extinguished, save for the lone candle, which cast a dim, otherworldly glow on the mirror's surface. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I was alone, but it felt as though the room was filled with a silent audience, holding their breath in anticipation. Then, I began to chant. "Bloody Mary!" I whispered into the mirror, my voice barely audible. "Bloody Mary!" I repeated, this time louder. "Bloody Mary!" I called out a third time, my voice echoing off the bathroom walls. The room fell silent. The only sound was the soft crackle of the candle and my own shallow breathing. I felt a chill creeping down my spine, a sense of unease growing within me. The silence was deafening, the anticipation palpable. I waited. Nothing happened. Or so I thought. I laughed at myself, feeling foolish for expecting something to happen. The night was ordinary, the silence only punctuated by the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustle of leaves outside. Yet the more I attempted to dismiss the unease, the more it seemed to grow within me. As time crept on, the house seemed to awaken. The walls began to whisper. The wooden floors creaked as though they were shifting under an unseen burden. The lights, once steady, began to flicker erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced upon the walls. Each flicker seemed to mock my growing fear, a cruel puppeteer pulling strings to stir the beast of uncertainty within me. A sudden gust of cold wind swept through the hallway, causing the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. It was an unnatural chill, one that seeped into my bones and made my heart pound with a primal fear I had never known. I couldn't help but feel a presence, an unseen entity that seemed to feed off my terror. The world outside was oblivious to my predicament, the moon a mere spectator in the sky, its pale light casting long, distorted shadows in the room. The ticking of the old clock on the mantelpiece grew louder, each second stretching into an eternity. The silence was broken by an unexplained noise, a soft, almost inaudible whisper that seemed to echo around the room. It was a voice, or perhaps several, all meshed into a single, unintelligible murmur. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a spectral chorus that sent chills down my spine. In my heart, I knew something was terribly wrong. The air was thick with an unseen terror, a presence I could neither explain nor understand. My mind raced, thoughts scrambled as I tried to make sense of the inexplicable. I was about to dismiss it all as my imagination, until I saw it. I froze, my blood turning to ice as I stared at the mirror. A face stared back at me. It was not my own. An icy grip of terror seized my heart, rendering me breathless. The reflection in the glass was a grotesque parody of a human face, a nightmarish visage that seemed to be ripped from the pages of the most horrifying legends. The face was pallid, almost translucent, with dark hollows where there should have been eyes. A thin, cruel smile stretched across its gaunt cheeks, revealing teeth that were too sharp, too white. The features bore an eerie resemblance to the descriptions of Bloody Mary from the tales I'd heard, and the realization made my skin crawl. A cold, prickly sensation washed over me, and I felt a scream lodge in my throat, but no sound would come out. I wanted to tear my gaze away, to run, to hide, but I was transfixed. It was as if the face in the mirror held me captive, its malevolent grin sending waves of paralyzing fear through me. The room around me seemed to fade away, leaving me alone with the horrifying reflection. I could almost hear a low, mocking laughter echoing in the back of my mind, chilling me to the bone. The terror was overwhelming, consuming, and yet I couldn't look away. And then the face in the mirror smiled. In the blink of an eye, everything changed. The room seemed to take on a life of its own. Objects once stationary now moved with a mind of their own, as if guided by an invisible hand. Shadows danced across the walls, forming grotesque shapes that sent chills down my spine. The mirror, once a simple reflective surface, now bore a spiderweb of cracks, as if the very fabric of reality was fracturing. A gust of icy wind whipped through the room, the temperature dropping so rapidly it felt as though the very air was being sucked of warmth. The door, my only escape, seemed miles away, its handle gleaming in the dim light. Each step I took felt like wading through a nightmarish quagmire, the sense of entrapment growing with each passing second. As I reached out, my hand trembling to grasp the doorknob, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder.